overview of what skills are, what projects are, what connectors are, and you now have the foundational pieces necessary. But simply by knowing these three, you are ahead of 95% of the population. And Claude just dropped another new tool. And if you're feeling like you can't keep up, that's okay. That's most of the planet right now. Every week there's a new tool, and most people are just sitting there wondering what they're even supposed to be using. The fact is, you don't need to figure out all the tools that Claude has to offer. Eventually, you'll learn them all. But let's start with the basics. With every new release, we are all falling behind. So this is what I used to say to my development teams all the time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And the first step to building a solid foundation is understanding what these tools are actually for, which then helps you understand how it affects your personal business. We're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You have to understand which tools are right for which workflows. After 10 years of consulting with businesses on technology, I can promise you it's not because you don't know, it's simply because you don't know how. Today, I'm going to break down the top 3 Claude tools used, but also maybe the most conflicting tools that people get mixed up on a regular basis. So with each of them, we're going to go over what they are, when to use them, and one example for each. So let's go. So the first thing I'm going to start with is Claude Projects. So if you are somebody who manages clients, if you manage projects, if you manage different aspects of your business, then Claude Projects is going to be something that's highly applicable to you. So it's a way for you to organize information, but every time you go to an AI chat, you're constantly having to re-explain yourself over and over and over again.
1 hour later.
Again, with tasks that you've already done before, right? Simply put, this is the file folder of Claude Chat. What this means is you're able to access other chats that are consolidated in the single project, but also you have files that you can access as well as instructions. So the fact is that when you're having a conversation with Claude within a project, it already has a ton of context. Simply put, you don't have to start from scratch every single time. So when you have ongoing work that needs to constantly access context, this is the best way to use Claude Projects. So if you're doing client work, if you're doing content series, if you're doing a recurring deliverable, SOWs, project proposals, things of that sort, having all of that in one convenient location not only helps you work today, but it helps you work tomorrow because it continues to build upon itself. An example of this was actually something I demoed on my YouTube channel, which was me using it for client management, where I took all of my client meeting transcripts, put them into a Claude project, connected Monday.com, and said, hey, Monday, make a client board for all the tasks that we talked about in these meetings. And it actually did it. It was insane. That Claude project, what it really meant was I was able to access all of that client's information from a multitude of meetings all in one convenient location. And then I was able to access all of that information from one chat. So if you're somebody who manages clients, if you're somebody who creates a lot of content, if you're somebody who has a lot of sales proposals and SOWs and things of that sort that you're doing kind of over and over and over again, and it's helpful for the next one to build off of the last one, then Claude Projects is definitely something you should check out. And like I said, it is like the file folder, if you will, so you can contain multiple folders within the folder, and those would be like your individual chats. So it doesn't have to be all about the same thing. It could be about a concept, a task, something you do on a recurring basis though. So how I did it in this example was per client, but it could also be per task. Like if you had a newsletter. So every single newsletter goes in there. So the next one is the same as the last one. And every time you add a new newsletter, this project just builds and becomes a better, more valuable, more helpful asset in your business.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
The Claude connectors are how you then use what you're doing in Claude to connect out to other platforms. So simply put, a Claude connector is the bridge between two tools. And this used to take a full development team for API codes and all this kind of nonsense. Now you can do it simply by logging into both tools and telling Claude it's okay to do stuff. Email, calendar, task management, All of these things can connect directly to Claude. So now when you're in a Claude chat, you can access all of your other tools. And by utilizing Claude projects, that becomes an organizational way to access based on different topics. But no matter what chat you're in, for a Claude connector, you can access any of these tools that you're connected to. So when you want Claude to do something in another tool, all you have to do is ask. An example of this was another video that I made where I added the entire Indiana Fever schedule for the 2026 season into my calendar simply by giving it the schedule and saying, hey, add this to my calendar, make it this color, and add this link so I could easily go click and watch the game. Obviously, that's a very silly example, but it is an example nonetheless of having Claude connected to your other tools, and then all you have to do is go talk to Claude about what you want to happen in these other tools, and it's able to, on your behalf, do things for you. And what would have taken me literally a really long time to add 44 games to my calendar took a matter of minutes. Quite simply the difference between you having to do it yourself or simply instructing Claude to do it for you. So while my example is silly and it's linked below, it is also a perfect example of how to go further faster and take so much redundant tasks off your plate.
We got some vibes going on.
And of course, saving the best for last are Claude skills. Now, while projects is about organizing tasks or topics or things of that sort, connectors are how Claude is fed from other tools you're using. Skills are individual workflows with a very specific and clear set of instructions. You telling Claude exactly what you expect to happen. So it happens from a trigger. So there's a magic set of words that say, okay, when these words are said, do that. When that happens within the Claude skill, you've already identified exactly what you expect the output to be. So a really simple example of this is how I write my newsletters. So I audio record answering a question, and then I take that audio recording and I transcribe it and turn it into my newsletter template. My newsletter has a structure that I follow every single time, but what's different is every single topic that I talk about. So I take all of the transcription of me answering that question in my own words and then turn it into a different format. And I use a Claude skill to do that because not only is this Claude skill instructed on exactly the format I'm expecting, but it also has access to previous newsletters that I have written, so it knows what I value as a proper output. So while the projects, so for instance, I have a specific dedicated project to all of my newsletters, my skill of writing a newsletter could be accessed in any chat at any time simply by using the magic words.
I don't make the rules, ma'am. I just think them up and write them down.
So while a project is a consolidation of information, a skill is a workflow that could happen at any time. So let's say instead, whenever I say abracadabra, I want these three things to happen for the client project that I'm working on. So say when I say abracadabra, I need to give you a first, last name, and email. I want you to send an email, make a Google Calendar event, and build a project board on whatever task management system you use. Let's say you do client work, right? So when I say abracadabra, it has the email, it has the first name, so it's going to write the email. The template's already going to be in there because the Claude skill has very clear instructions in it, and it already knows what the event that it needs to make, and it also knows that it needs to build a project board. What I'm telling you is if you say magic words and you clearly outline what you want to happen when those magic words are said, no matter what chat you're in, no matter what you're doing, whenever you say abracadabra, all of that stuff's going to happen.
Like a both.
While the projects are like file folders, the skills are like ninjas, and they can come in at any time and do any kind of workflow as long as you clearly define what you expect to happen when you say the magic words. I also built a specific demo though for a client. So this is a real world application of a skill I used for a business. So I will link that video down below if you want to watch this executed in real life and how I built the skill. So that is a high level overview of what skills are, what projects are, what connectors are, and you now have the foundational pieces necessary to start learning what all of these these new Claude tools are, like design, like artifacts, and all these other things that Claude is building within its ecosystem. But simply by knowing these three, you are ahead of 95% of the population. And the fact is, you do not need all of them today. You just need one. You just need one to help you with the job that's in front of you right now. It's going to make a huge impact. And from there, we keep building and we keep getting time back in your work week, time back in your life. So how do I help businesses get AI inserted into their work week? One workflow at a time. So if you're interested in the next hour getting one of these Claude skills up and running, then you need my Claude starter kit. The link is down below in the description and in the pinned comments. And within an hour, you will have one of these skills operating in your business, and it's done with you. I built a special prompt, so it's going to walk you through step by step, not only how to build it, exactly what it needs to know, and most importantly, how to save it and then how to use it. So the starter kit is where you take your first bite. You're going to build your first skill and your AI hit list for all the other workflows that you're going to tackle using AI. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video with other people who are also using Claude either in your business with you or within your business ecosystem. And this is a new channel, so hype the video, because when you do that, it gets shared to more people. And really, I'm on a mission to get time back in people's lives using Claude, and this is the fastest way to do that. So if you're interested in the next hour getting time back in your work week, then use my Claude starter kit. So I will see you there.